We're at the new American Top Team in South Florida, Coconut Creek. This is a great facility, bigger and better than the original American Top Team in Coconut Creek. And I'm here with UFC welterweight Nathan Coy. He will be facing Jonavin Webb on Sunday, February 21st, during UFC Fight Night, which is really caught on, the UFC Fight Night on Fox Sports 1 from the Council Energy Center in Pittsburgh. So Nathan, what are you looking forward to this fight coming up on Sunday, UFC Fight Night?
What I'm looking forward to is fighting, and to have my opportunity to fight in the UFC, get a second outing now. I'd like to get some momentum, have a few fights this year. If I could, 5. I'll settle for anything, though, that they give me.
What do you know about your opponent coming into this fight?
I've scouted my opponent, Jonavin Webb, a bit. Familiar with his style. We have here at American Top Team so many fighters, and I have so many people who can simulate his style. But he is a strong grappler, and just like every fighter, he comes with it. He's at this level, anyways. He comes with it. And, he's an exciting fighter. It should be a great fight.
What do you think about being on Fox Sports 1 and the exposure that you and UFC gets by doing that?
I think it's great. Initially, I was going to be on the Fight Pass, but the exposure I'll be getting on the Fox Sports is awesome. Plus, I'll have my family and friends. It'll be easier for them to be able to watch the fight.
Yeah, you said because you're going to be instead of being on the Fight Pass, you're actually going to be on Fox Sports 1 during the prelims, correct?
And I think I'm the first fight of the night, or on the Fox Sports, so I'll get to open up the show.
What has this journey been like for you? You've told me if I'm wrong here. You've worked with Bellator, you've worked with Strikeforce. Now you're here at the granddaddy of them all, UFC. What has this journey been like for you?
I think about this journey quite a bit, especially this last couple of months, because I almost retired there right before I got into the UFC. The road to this journey has been phenomenal. It's been ups and downs, and I really don't know how to say it. I've been in this sport of some form of combat sport since 1986. I've trained with my dad. I've trained with numerous training partners and coaches over the years. A lot of people have helped me. It's the journey's been great. And then when you were in the journey, you're trying to explore the best options that are going to help you advance. And it brought me here from Oregon to Florida to train here at, I think, the best gym in the world. I think we're going to prove it soon enough. The journey's been phenomenal, and I'm just thankful for all the people who've been a part of it.
What almost made you retire?
Well, I think I had a couple opportunities to get in the UFC over the years, and I thought a chance in November. I didn't get that chance, and at that point, after being on the Tough Show, getting turned down a couple times, I thought it was basically over. I was tired of fighting on the regional scene, and I was looking at I would have still trained and done everything I could to help my teammates. So I don't know if I ever got the phone call, I would have been ready. But a part of me was also looking at maybe I have a family, and I'm trying to we're trying to raise our children and be secure, and if you're not fighting, you're not getting paid, and I didn't want to fight for no money, and I wanted the opportunity to be the best in the world, and that's through the UFC, and that was the only organization at this point I wanted to fight for, and thank God they called. You
were part of the Ultimate Fighter, which gave you some nice exposure as well. Was that one of the big opportunities that sort of springboarded this not retiring for you?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Having that exposure from the UFC was... being on Ultimate Fighter was significant. It's huge. Dan Lambert really putting it all on the line, putting his gym's name on the line in that show was huge. And then his commitment, getting his goals to just have everybody who fights here get in the UFC. And so, just that commitment from him, the training partners, the coaches, it means a lot, and I think ultimately that's what got me in the UFC. Was the commitment of Dan Lambert, and I think they just knew I was going to be all right and an exciting fighter, so they brought me on. they'll know I always sign that dotted line and I'll show up too. You know, that's the damn truth.
What do you enjoy about all this?
What I enjoy about MMA and all of this is, to be honest, it was the same joy I had when I was 8 years old. I believe there's nothing better than having that workout. No matter what happens in that day, when you have that workout and you finish with that workout, you have a great feeling. They say like a runner's high. Well, that's kind of what you get from a workout, you know. And I was able to explore that as a youth. It made me feel better, and it's stuck with me for life. And I think that's what I enjoy most, is being around a bunch of like-minded people who want something out of life. And there's not really many things in life where you can get better every day and improve. Every day it's a challenge, and you're trying to get better. And that's what I love about it.
Growing up, you grew up in Portland, Oregon.
I grew up in Northern California.
Oh, tell me,
moved to
please.
Oregon in high school.
So Northern California, you grew up. Were you born in Northern
I
California?
was born in Vallejo, California. Lived between Vallejo and Grass Valley, anywhere in between, up until I was 15, and then moved to Portland my freshman year in high school.
What was it like growing up and competing? How old were you when you started competing in amateur wrestling?
When I first competed in amateur wrestling, it was 1986. I was 8 years old.
What was that like for you when you first got on the mat, and how long did it take you to just fall in love with it?
I think it happened instantly, man. I really think I loved the sport instantly. My brother, also a year younger than me, got in the sport, and he made a kid's nose bleed, and that was his last day of wrestling. He didn't care for the sport. I loved it.
So he makes the kid bleed, and he's like, "No, I don't want to do this anymore." And you're like, "Hey, wait, let me. I'm going to keep doing it."
This is a challenge. I'll stick with this.
Oh, so if it was you against your brother, who would have come out on top then in one of those matches?
Maybe back then he would have.
So what was it like from your training back then and just progressing and all? How good were you even at a young age? And then obviously you must have done very well as a high school wrestler.
Yeah, as a young, boy, you're young. I think I was always right in there from the beginning. I had determination and I worked hard even as a youth. So it was all good, man. It was easy.
How was it for high school? And did you make it to the state competition? And how far did you go in the state competition?
Yeah.
And where did you go to high school?
Okay, the transition between youth and then high school wrestling was well, I always had good training partners. Every tournament was tough. It was always good. The wrestling in high school I went to Parkhurst High School in Portland, Oregon, and I was a state champion there 2 times. And
Hey, so it's the new age, right? With the cell phones and social media and everything.
Yeah, I mean, wrestling was always a challenge. It's the toughest sport in the world. I think it's harder than MMA. I think there's something about getting in a wrestling stance and battling with your hands. The push-pull of the sport is it's nothing like it. I think it intrigued me, and it's always motivated me. It's always who's the best person, and really burn all that energy out that is negative. It forces you to be a better person. Otherwise, you'll leave the mat and never come back. You just continue to move forward and get the best out of it.
How was the high school team?
Yeah, that's a good story in itself. I went to Portland. My pop realized.
Go ahead.
My pop realized that this was a good opportunity to possibly get a college scholarship, and at this point, wrestling was really important for us. He was a framer, so he could move. And that's what he did. We went up to Portland, Oregon. There was a wrestling club there called UFC Wrestling, and had future Olympians. Matt Lindland was part of the program. We had a lot of great wrestlers through there, and he realized, you need good training partners and coaches from a young age. So we moved up to Portland, Oregon for that club. I did have family living in Oregon. That's another thing we didn't have in Northern California. It was family, so we would have people that would help us. And so our high school team was not very good. It was actually quite bad, and in all sports really. But there was a nucleus of good people in that room, and it was a beautiful team to be a part of, man. I say beautiful, but the guys, they're still my friends, you know, and that's something that is, two of my best friends were out of high school and still are, you know, and just good people. From a young age, man, wrestling just brought me around people that I've always enjoyed being around. And although we weren't good, slowly our team was good, you know, and it was commitment and just training and believing in each other and having a good time. And so my high school experience was awesome, you know.
Except for football.
Football, we lost every varsity football game when I was in high school. And I think a year before and a year after, I think we had a state record of like 50-something straight losses in football. We were the worst team in the state. And then my first play in my junior year, I went out for the football team, and opening kickoff, I received the football and broke my leg right off the bat. And the best part about that story is my dad adamantly did not want me to get into football because he knew how important wrestling could be of getting a scholarship and moving on and going to college. And he was not happy. He said that, you know, injuries can happen in football, and sure enough it did. But that year I was able to suck it up. I was in a cast until the end of December, and I was still able to train and work hard. It probably was the best thing that really happened because it made me like really appreciate what I do in the sport. And I was motivated with that cast on. I had trained really hard, and when I took the cast off, I was able to still compete. And the last 2 months of the season, I finished it, and I was able to win a state championship that year. And it taught me a lot that through injury, you can still train and be the best you can be. You just have to keep a positive mind. You
also competed in cross country while you were in school. Was that more for conditioning?
I competed in cross country, freshman, sophomore, and that was about conditioning, about just, you know, being around people. Cross country is a very hard sport. Running, swimming, very hard sports. I didn't swim because I swim like a rock, but I did cross country for the being outdoors and running with a bunch of cyclists. Runners are cyclists too, you know.
They run and run and run and run.
They were good to be a part of too, you know.
Yeah, good people, good.
People.
Now we're going from high school to college. So what was your decision? Ended up going to Oregon State. Yeah. And were you looking at any other colleges at the time?
I was looking in college, a couple universities, but my story is pretty unique, man. I didn't have the grades. I went in as a senior, talked to my advisor. They asked me what my goals were after high school. They looked at I said I wanted to go to college and wrestle. And they looked at my transcripts. I was nowhere close. I ended up getting great advice from a teacher there, Vicki Thomas, who I really haven't thanked ever. And I really thought about this recently, how much she helped me. I didn't want to go the JC route because I didn't want to lose any years of eligibility at the D1. I think that was title proposition something, 148. Anyway, so I had to get, you know, to even qualify for Division I, I had to get my SAT scores up. So what I did was I dropped out of high school and applied at a different high school where I wouldn't know anybody. So I actually went to a fifth year somewhere where I didn't know anybody. And I just got my grades up so I could be eligible. And then through that, Oregon State was stuck by me the whole way. And
well, it's almost like redshirting in a way.
It was like redshirting. That's how exactly I looked at it. And actually, my freshman year, our varsity guy, who's #1 recruit, just didn't make it, man. And I stepped in, and that's what I said. It was my redshirt year, and I'm ready to wrestle, you know. So, So, man, what a learning experience life has been for me, man. And I've been committed. I never quit, you know.
Now, what was that journey like at Oregon State? Because you were an All-American wrestler. You also placed 4th at NCAAs, correct?
Yes, sir.
What was that whole experience like there? And you also got your degree at Oregon State.
Yeah, man. I went from having very low SAT score to getting a degree in college, man. And that's because of help, man. People help me, help me make it. You know, and can't thank enough the people out there that truly, if you seek help, you ask for help, you'll get it. You know, if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen. And I can't stress that enough to the young people, is that you just really, if you want something bad enough, make it happen, and it will. People love that, and they're going to help you along the way. My college experience was great. The more politics than you realize, most people realize, though, it was all right, looking back, anyways, yeah, it was a good experience. It was just, I learned a lot.